Should Congress begin impeachment hearings for President Trump in the wake of the Mueller report?
John Keller sits down with Congressman Jim McGovern, chairman of the House Rules Committee, to discuss. Here's John Keller.
Well, good morning. Thanks very much for joining us. Just hours before this taping began, Special Counsel Robert Mueller made his only public statement to date about the Russia investigation, stating that, quote, if we had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so, end quote. And also noting that, quoting again, the Constitution requires a process other than the criminal justice system to formally accuse a sitting president of wrongdoing, end quote. Well, that process he's referring to is impeachment. And here to talk about that and hopefully some other matters is the chairman of the House Rules Committee, Congressman Jim McGovern of Worcester. Congressman, welcome.
Happy to be with you.
Always good to have you here. We appreciate it. So we heard Mr. Mueller push back against the White House spin. We're exonerated. If there was any evidence of a crime, Mueller would have filed charges. And he also reminded us that it's up to Congress to pursue that. You have not endorsed impeachment, but you've also refused to take that option off the table. Are you in any way more inclined toward impeachment after what you heard from Mueller?
So what I'm inclined to is having the Judiciary Committee begin an inquiry to formally look into whether or not impeachment is warranted. I think that, to me, seems like the next logical step. Robert Mueller did his job, and he issued a report that's over 400 pages long. I've read it. It's damning. It's shocking. And it seems to me that his press conference today made it clear that Congress, the ball's in your court. And I think this is too serious for us to ignore. And I think we ought to begin a formal process to decide whether impeachment is warranted.
How would that inquiry, that formal process, differ from what the committee's already doing?
Yeah, so it would basically it would have the Judiciary Committee basically focus on that issue of whether or not impeachment is warranted. I think it would also provide Congress with more muscle in terms of getting the courts to side with us when the administration obstructs. It's a formal proceeding, and I know some of my colleagues are not there yet and want the existing committees to continue to do their work. I respect that. I mean, unless there's a consensus, we're not going to have a formal inquiry launched on impeachment. But I mean, this president, well, when he was a candidate, he and his team enthusiastically welcomed the Russians to interfere in our election, and then he lied about it and he covered it up. That's obstruction to justice.
So this inquiry you're calling for, you're going a little further than Speaker Pelosi on this, aren't you?
I am, and I respect Speaker Pelosi, and she's our leader, and I'm not, trying to, cause any dissension. I mean, if the consensus is to continue to do the investigations that are ongoing, I will certainly respect that. I just personally believe that at this moment, I would vote for a formal inquiry.
Now, there are some legal experts who believe that Congress, and you alluded to this as part of the inquiry process, could really strengthen its ability to investigate by starting impeachment, make it more difficult to ignore subpoenas, expedite court rulings on disputes over subpoenas and issues like that. Impeachment hearings would certainly keep this issue front and center in the public mind over the next few months. Do you see any benefit to impeachment hearings when it comes to getting to the truth?
Well, I do, and that's why I think what a formal inquiry would do. Look, we need to tell the American people what happened in the story. The problem right now is what's going on is, subpoenas are being issued, the administration doesn't respect it doesn't comply with the subpoenas, then letters are sent, then more subpoenas, and we're going back and forth. What people are forgetting, and what Robert Mueller reminded us about today, was at the heart of all of this was Russian interference in our election. And I don't care whether you're a Trump supporter or you're a liberal Democrat. Bottom line is everybody should be horrified by that.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we continue, more with Congressman Jim McGovern of Worcester. So please stay with us.